Fairview Elementary School wanted to solve the problem of designing data meetings that ensured every student made a minimum of 1 year's growth in mathematics. They were making progress toward their aim of increasing students' achievement on the CMAS in math. They approached this problem by creating a meeting protocol that included knows and shows, exit tickets, and clarity about how to address students' misconceptions.
We were really focusing on, for this specifically, in-class assessments and interim assessments. And so when we were looking at math specifically, we're using the trajectory of how kids were performing to try to predict how how successful students were going to be on CMAS. And so for the data that I took, I combined our 3rd grade classes, which were 30 students. We looked at our 4th grade students overall. We actually were having 2 data meetings a week. We were having 1 math and 1 literacy. And the purpose of that was we were seeing in our weekly data meetings and our 2nd interim assessment that the quality of the student responses weren't nearly where we wanted them to be at that point in the school year. And so for both subjects. With math, what was really great about that is we were really able to take the interim 2 data and propel that to help pulse. We were able to use that to help drive small group instruction, reteach, and those types of things. And we were able to get a more frequent check-in rather than bi-weekly with math. And so we were still using our data protocol, but we were able to get to like more of the end of the protocol that we weren't able to get to.
So we really started the process this year with, saying we're going to do this once a week. And then as you guys saw, we didn't have a protocol in the past. And so we created like a step-by-step expectation of the protocol and revamped it several times based on feedback from not only the DI team, but teachers, like what is working, what is not. And what we kind of settled on, something that was really missing was that deep dive of the standard. So that no-show chart that we started to create. Again, what is the language of the standard? How well do the teachers know the standard? And what are they doing to get to the root of the standard? And so I think that was a huge turning point in how we facilitated, how Juanita and Janet were facilitating the data team meetings, is really looking at the standard. And then having that time built in because we had that protocol to talk about the reteach and the exit ticket. I also think it helped that we had the standards mapped out for the year in 6-week chunks. And so teachers knew what the standard the major standard we were focusing on. And it wasn't like, a surprise, like, okay. It was necessary in order to really get to the root of kids and what they were learning and what they knew and what they didn't. Something that worked really well, I think, was having that protocol to follow. I mean, we had set like, we're going to do this 3 minutes, X, Y, and Z. We know what the expectations are. We know that we're going to celebrate. We know that we're going to look at the standard again. If we have to create a new no-show, if it's a new standard, or we're going to go back and say, okay, we did this. We did the deep dive. Anything else that we've learned through looking at student work based on misconceptions.
We are talking about the misconceptions. We are talking about where kids are struggling. And so it's just different type of data, I suppose. But definitely the PDSA cycle. I mean, whether we name it or not, we are constantly having to think through, is this working? Let's try it. Okay, let's come back to it. Was it good? Do we have to make adjustments? Our goal was 35% of our students meeting. And I want to name, we know that's low. The year prior to that, we only had 17.5 of our students performing at grade level in math. And so we knew, hey, we at least need to double this number in order to start getting our kids back to where they were, or closing those learning gaps. These are the projections for students who would have been meeting on CMAS math this year. And so overall our total is 45%, which is 10% higher than we were getting, right? And so I think it's fair to like plus or minus that within like a 5 to 7% range. But even within that, we're still above where we want it to be with our students on grade level. So very exciting. I mean, we had a true impact on the way students were performing and the way teachers were teaching and instructing. And so I think that's a real big celebration.